Hey, what's revving everyone? I'm Keenan with Optimum Performance Motorsports in Portland once again. This time we're going to be walking through this RSV4 1100. For those of you that don't know, the RSV4 is going to be using Aprilia's legendary 65-degree narrow V4 engine that they developed for World Superbike, and it's also using a lot of their know-how developed in MotoGP, as well as throughout their lengthy racing career, totaling for 54 championships worldwide. The RSV4 is also going to come with a ton of premium equipment, like Brembo Stylema calipers up front, clamping two 330mm floating rotors, as well as a two-piston Brembo caliper in the rear, clamping a 220mm rotor, and fully adjustable suspension that's going to allow you to really get this bike completely set up for your skill level as well as what track you're riding. Another really cool thing about the Aprilia RSV4 that allows you to really get it set up for your style or what track you're riding is part of their homologation spec on these RSV4s. It comes with adjustable geometry for the steering head. You can adjust the engine position in the chassis itself, as well as adjusting the swing arm pivot height. And this is all race-derived stuff that Aprilia was really able to take advantage of in World Superbike, so they could adjust the chassis and all of the physics behind the bike to suit whatever track they were at to help get those extra tenths on the racetrack. So it's really cool that all that technology has bled down into something that you can buy for the street. I mean, really, this has no business being on the street. It's a ton of fun. This is something that you really should be taking to the track, but you can throw a license plate on it. It's got full lights and blinkers for those freeway runs that you want to do, or for carving all of those amazing canyons that are out here in the West Coast. Aprilia knew that putting 217 horsepower on a street bike was going to require them to put a lot of rider aids onto the motorcycle, and Aprilia has been developing their APRC system for well over a decade now, and it's one of the smoothest operating, most usable rider aids in the industry. You get things like lean angle sensitive ABS, traction control, there's wheelie control, rear wheel lift mitigation. You even have cruise control on this, as well as a quick shifter that's going to have up and down auto blipping functions that really allow you to be as fast as you possibly can on this bike. Being bred specifically for going as fast as possible, Aprilia has even added these integrated winglets down here on the bodywork. It's nice to see that there's no longer these big, bulky wings sticking out. It's all integrated into the bodywork, and this actually does a lot better job at keeping the bike stable, as well as helping keep that front wheel planted, which really comes in handy at high-speed braking scenarios, as well as if you're full throttle over a little crest of a hill. It's going to help keep the front down a little bit more so you can stay on that gas, so you can keep accelerating, which is really cool to think that we are at a point in motorcycling where we just have too much power and we have to start taking advantage of aerodynamics just so we can put the power down. It's not quite like cars where our issue is spinning up. We're just trying to keep the front end down. So it's amazing to see superbikes are starting to do something like that, as well as just how much more stable that makes the bike at high speed. It's not just for downforce, it's also going to help keep the bike pointing in a straight line when you are getting some crazy crosswinds, when you are going 180, 90 miles an hour down the front straight. Aprilia has also jam-packed a lot of their MotoGP technology into this motorcycle. One of the most recent additions that they put in here is actually this underslung swing arm. What that has actually allowed them to do is quite a few things. It's lowered the center of gravity by a little bit by putting the bulk of the swing arm underneath. It's also made it a little more rigid where they want it to be, and a little bit flexible where they want it to be as well, because when you are on the side of a tire, your suspension can only do so much, so they engineer in a little bit of flex to help absorb all those minor track imperfections when you are on the side of the tire. This swing arm is also easier for them to make, so they can make them quicker and a little bit lighter. It's only made out of about 3 pieces welded together versus the old 7 different aluminum pieces that had to be welded to create the swing arm that was on the 2020 and earlier models of the V4 as well as the Tuono V4s. All RSV4s are also going to come with a passenger seat as well. This is their seat cowl right here. There is a bigger passenger seat that you will pop on there. One of the things you notice first when you do throw a leg over any motorcycle is going to be the weight of it. And the Aprilia RSV4 is coming in at about 445 pounds, which is kind of crazy to think about, being that it makes 217 horsepower. So it's putting out about 2 horsepower for every pound that this motorcycle weighs, which is ridiculous. So it's really nice that they have all those rider aids on it, as well as some mechanical features that make this motorcycle a lot more usable on the racetrack or on the street. So they've added things like a slipper assist clutch. What that's gonna end up doing is if you're aggressive on downshifts coming into a corner, it's gonna reduce the rear wheel from hopping and skidding if you didn't rev match quite right, which also allows you to be a little more aggressive with your downshifts, because you know that clutch is gonna have the necessary slip to control that rear wheel. Another really cool thing that it does is on the assist function that allows them to run lighter clutch springs, making the clutch pull a little bit lighter, but under power it's actually going to force the plates together even more, making sure that it's not going to end up slipping, and it's going to put all of that power to that rear wheel. If you are interested in purchasing one of these RSV4s, feel free to stop on in at one of our locations. I'm down here in Portland. We also have a Bellevue store. There's also a factory edition of the RSV4 that comes with quite a few more goodies, so stay tuned. I will be doing another video on that. Please remember to like and subscribe and let us know anything else you want to hear from us in the future. My number is 971-865-0054, and above all else, ride safe.